Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wandering Podcast, where we take advisement from outside the box. I'm Rihanna Ritter, your host. I'm an intuitive, sexuality, and authentic expression coach. Are you an accomplished professional who plays the part of having it all figured out? Who's strong for everyone else but feels lonely, misunderstood, like you can't tell anybody the truth about how stressed you are, how not passionate you are about your life and all that you've created? I guide my clients to deep, lasting fulfillment. I re-engage them with their bodies, their pleasure, their desire. I help them align to enjoy fulfillment and prosperity in all areas of their lives.
Today, my guest is intuitive life and business coach and the host of the Brilliance Method podcast, Elysia Skye. Welcome, Elysia. Thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me. What a perfect day to be with you in your energy in this magical show.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about what happened this morning.
Oh, do I have to?
No.
I will. So I was just telling Rihanna, I almost canceled coming on today. And, coming from an entertainment background, the show must go on. So I've got that drilled into me. And I canceled my own podcast episode earlier today. I was going to be interviewing someone. I've just been crying all day. And I told Rihanna I felt okay to come on your show because of who you are and what the show is about. And I could totally be my authentic self, even if I'm a little sad today. And she was like, absolutely. So I'm just so happy to be here. But what happened was I am a lover of all animals. And I have, my husband calls it my menagerie in my backyard, which is all the squirrels. There's squirrels and bunnies. There's even a rat. And there's raccoons. There's just like all the animals. And I feed them. I just pretend I'm Snow White and I feed them and I give them water and I take care of them. And it's one of my favorite things. And we have a pool. It was one of the things I did as, celebrating how my business was going. I put in a pool. Some people, like my coach at the time, like I think she bought a Bentley and she's like, "What's your Bentley?" And I'm like, "A pool." Also, love a Bentley, not buying a Bentley. Uh, and so I got the pool. And here in Nashville, Tennessee, when it is cold, you lower the water of the pool and you put a winterization chemical and you cover the pool. But it just recently was cold and there was ice on top, and the ice froze the top of the pool tarp and pushed it into the water. And we hadn't yet put it back over the pool. And a little squirrel today fell into the pool and she didn't make it. She drowned. And I woke up and I looked outside and I saw my worst nightmare that I've feared for so long, having a pool that, one day there might be an animal in there not breathing. And I ran out and I scooped her out and I just held her and cried and I rinsed her off with water just in case it would help. And then I dug a very deep hole and I called my family to come and help. My brother-in-law came and helped and buried a little girl today, and I'm very sad about it. I'm sad because an animal, an innocent animal, died on my land, and I feel like I could have prevented it because I knew that the tarp needed to be fixed, and I didn't insist upon it happening before my husband left town. I was trying to be generous with his time, and we just have to listen to our intuition, Rihanna. And this, I have so many wonderful stories where I've listened to my intuition and it worked out even in terrible times. And today it did not work out.
Mm.
So I'm very sad.
Mm.
I feel a lot of guilt.
Mm. Well, I mean, I think sometimes things are a little bit beyond our what we're seeing in the moment. And, you know,
Yeah.
I think it might clear up over time. What's a time that you listened to your intuition where it did work?
Mm.
Like, well, it always works, right? When we listen to our intuition. When we don't listen, it's when.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, there's been so many stories, but the most powerful one that I think will inspire everyone watching or listening is when I was 24 years old, almost 20 years ago now, at the time we're recording this in 2025. I was in a very dramatic fight with a boyfriend at the time. And I took a shower to cool off because that's what you do when you're a drama queen and you make it known that that's what you're going to go do. And went in the shower, cooling off, vigorously loofahing, and my pinky scraped a lump on my breast. And I've always been very intuitive. My mother raised me to be very intuitive. And one of my gifts is being medically intuitive, although I don't know that I would have been so confident in saying that at the time. But I saw inside my breast when I felt this lump, and I saw what it looked like, and it didn't look good. And I had this flashback to being in health class in sixth grade when they passed around that silicone boob with a bean inside, and the teacher's like, "This is what cancer feels like," right? And like I just heard her voice. I remembered the bean. I remember I was so present when I was 11 years old when they passed it around and said, I really need to know what this feels like. And I felt it that night. And I told my boyfriend, I got out of the shower and told him, hey, I have breast cancer. And he's like, you're being dramatic. Like, fair. But I said, no, I know. Like, I'm not a hypochondriac. I know. And I left a message for my doctor. This was a Friday night. So by the time I was able to get in and see her was Tuesday. By then, another lump had shown up. And she said, and she's a wonderful doctor, but in all fairness, this was 2005. There was not a lot of cases of young women with cancer. I don't have a genetic history of it. My grandmother had a very minimal at that time, or years before that, like a lumpectomy, stage 1, different type of cancer. So she said, it's probably just a cyst. Let's wait and see what happens. Just wait and see a little bit, right? So never do that, by the way. If your doctors say, hey, let's wait, and just no, just get a second opinion, get a second test, do another test. So being a smart ass with an abundance of resources, I went to a Beverly Hills Tower Imaging Center in Los Angeles, and I threw down my American Express like I was buying a car, and I was like, give me a mammogram and a biopsy, please. And they were like, who's your referring doctor? I'm like, oh, she didn't refer me. But then she did. She sent in a letter. Um, sorry, my dogs are barking. So turns out 2 days later, I got the results. I did have stage 3 cancer. And it was that lump in the armpit that it put it in my lymphatic system, which of course made me inclined to do chemotherapy. I did a lot of Western and Eastern treatment, but I did the full gambit of Western treatment, especially being 24, not really having a family history, not having any reason why I got cancer. I was like, I promise, universe, I'm going to do the inside work, but let's get this shit out of my body, right? So that's what that was about. So by the time the diagnosis came on Thursday, she said, you need to have surgery immediately. You're going to go meet with your surgical team. If you don't like them, you can meet with someone else. But let's try and have your mastectomy tomorrow, because if you do nothing, you'll be dead in a month. Glad I didn't wait.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
And at the time, I was playing a fairy in A Midsummer Night's Dream in Palm Springs. Uh, so I had like a really cute little fairy leaf bra and a cute costume. And I was like, our final show is this weekend. I'll have the surgery Monday. And it was fine. And I did that.
Wow. Wow.
But because I listened to my intuition, I was like, I'm safe to wait a couple more days. And I totally was. But yeah, because I listened to my intuition, I'm alive.
Yeah. Mm. So, how do you think that you developed that strong of a connection with your intuition? Because so many of us um, kind of sever that connection while we're trying to please people and do the productive Western culture thing.
Fair. So I'll attribute to a few things. One, my mother. My mother was named Jamie, and she was very intuitive, as I mentioned. She had told me when I was 10 years old she wasn't going to live to be 50. And she didn't necessarily know how she was going to pass that young. And it turned out when she was 37, she was hit by a car and killed. Now, previous to that, she was diagnosed with MS. So it could have been, a thought about that had her tell me that. But she just knew stuff. She just knew. And when we were little, we would play psychic games. We would play energy games. We would rub our hands together and then hold our hands up and feel each other's energy and pull back till we couldn't feel it anymore and laugh about it. And we would do hypnotherapy and just cool stuff. Like I just had the coolest mom. So she encouraged me my entire life. Like your intuition is a sense that is just as real as seeing and tasting and touching and feeling and hearing and all of them, right? So I didn't grow up thinking that wasn't a thing. And of course, being like a young girl and into woo-woo stuff that really wasn't what it was called back then. Like we kind of called it witchy stuff or like witchcraft. Like we didn't have another name for it. You know, it was the early 90s. The craft was popular. You know, Return to Oz, like all that stuff, right? I'm
Yeah.
just naming Fairuza Balk movies at this point. So I just trusted it. And growing up, when I was 19 years old, I moved out to Los Angeles on my own from Florida, and I just wanted to find crystal stores, wanted to find psychic shops. You know, it was like, I just want to feel good. I want to help other people feel good. And so that just led me on my journey to keep developing it. I eventually took some classes to learn how to develop it. And truly, at the end of the day, it's a listening practice, it's a meditation practice, it's a
Yeah.
right? It's awareness. It's acknowledging, acknowledging you're thinking about someone and then they call you and you don't just think it's a coincidence. There are no coincidences.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's interesting because I have such a different, or grew up with such a different relationship with intuition. And like my parents thought that psychics were fake and quacks, and grew up in a really fundamentalist Christian religion. And
You're
so, like,
Jehovah's Witness, right?
yeah.
That's right.
So we believed that only they knew the answers, and that was what they teach. That is what they teach, that like Jehovah, but really the church determines who Jehovah is and what the message is. So it's like really interesting to be like so spiritual, because we were spiritually superior to everybody else.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then to be totally disconnected with any of your actual spirituality, your divinity, your spiritual gifts. So then, I learned it was demonic, and that was Satan or the demons trying to get into my brain or whatever. So then, when I finally kind of came out of that, and it took maybe 2 years ago, 4 years ago, where I actually was like, I'm going to just accept this, stop resisting it, stop fearing it. And then, yeah, it kind of just, and through meditation is when I started to see things like past life memories, and just connecting with all kinds of really interesting visions and things like that. And then to not fear it and not think it was ridiculous took a lot of practice.
Hmm.
So
But
it's kind of bizarre the way religion and spirituality, like they're supposed to be the one thing, and they're
sure.
so
It's a different thing. So when you first started like seeing things or hearing things or understanding, and was there like some fear in the beginning, and how did you move through that? Because I think a lot of people get scared right away.
yeah, well, it happened when I was little, and so it wasn't the first time it was happening. And but the way it was presented when I was little was that it was demonic and scary, and my parents told me to scream, in the name of Jehovah, get out, because they thought I was being visited by demons. And so,
Really, it
yes,
was like Grandpa,
initially,
Grandpa Joe from the,
yeah, just trying to be like, I'm not ready to cross over. Like, I've got stuff. I'm still here. Like, I still want to be alive. I still want to do this. And then, and it's just more of a me, like, they come to me and I'm like, okay, well, that's not really what's happening. So it's going to be okay. And,
Wow.
you've got next time around, and, just kind of soothing and listening. And, and then they move on. But um, I have noticed throughout life when that had happened and I didn't listen and I resisted, that they didn't move on. And
Yeah.
so then there was a little bit of like, it kept pinging at me. Like, so when I finally kind of accepted it, I've had some interesting experiences where like I'll be in a deep dream state and I'll feel like my feet pulled like off the bed, and I'm like, and then, it feels extremely real. And then I've had another, a lot of times there's some subconscious stuff, like you're dreaming. So you've got your subconscious at work, but then there's also this other thing happening at the same time. So there were moments where, and if I describe that, where I feel something like pull me, touch me, people are like, yeah, I don't want anything to do with that. That's terrifying. But I wasn't actually physically being touched. It was just a sensation. Like there was no other like hand touching me. It was more of just the sensation of I'm being pulled, like
Mhm.
like you're not listening to me. Pay attention.
Yes.
So it was at first, yeah, like I feel out of control, whatever. And you kind of learn how to mm, be open to it or not be open to it. You learn how to kind of manage when you're ready for that and when you're not. Like these things can't demand that you pay attention to them unless you believe they can and you let them and you're afraid of them. And so there's a way of learning how to kind of hone the gift, I guess
Mm-hmm.
is what I would call it.
Yeah, and that's just a lot to put on a little kid, right? Like having those experiences and not knowing. And also, like at the same time, what a beautiful gift you've been given to help people transition.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I still haven't fully embraced it. I don't claim it regularly, but
I love
it's
it.
it's something. So let's talk about the Brilliance Method
Sure.
and yeah, how you came up with that and what it's all about.
Sure, thank you. The Brilliance Method is truly me sitting down going, how did I do it? How did I do all of it? Because often people would ask me, you seem like you have the coolest life. I'm like, I do have the coolest life, but it's been hard work. And a lot of people have full-time jobs. They have 2 weeks vacation a year. I work for myself. I travel as much as I want. I am so grateful that I am healthy and alive. I did beat cancer. I feel pretty easily, all things considered. And I'm married to who I believe is my soulmate, the love of my life since 2011, been together since 2008. I live in my dream house. We call it the Manor. It's just a beautiful home. And as I mentioned, my menagerie of creatures, like I have amazing friends. I'm so grateful, Rihanna. And it was
You
just,
do look like Snow White, by the way. I'm sure you've heard that before.
thank you. I gotta get a yellow and what is it? Yellow and blue striped outfit or
Yeah.
something. That would be great. Thank you, thank you. What a great compliment. I also love Disney, so that's fun. So I have this great life now. Are there hard days, weeks, months, years, cycles? Absolutely. Like I said, I canceled my whole day today, other than this, just crying. And maybe to some people, they might roll their eyes at a squirrel, but I feel it. As you said when I told you today, like, wow, I'm in grief. I am, and there's so much grief, especially when you look at I lost my mother. I had cancer. There's so many stories about my father. And it's just, all the things. We all have stuff. So I'm not downplaying my stuff, but the fact that I am here, that I've beat the odds, that I am, maybe on paper successful, that I feel successful because that's to me inner peace. I have that peace most days, more often than not. I have that peace. Not, today was hard. So people just ask me, how'd you do it? How do you do it? How can I do it? I'm like, that would be a generous thing for me to figure it out and tell people and teach people. So a quick backstory, I have years, decades of experience as a producer in entertainment in Los Angeles. And the kind of the end of my time in LA, I wound up producing and creating online courses for mega universities like Vanderbilt and Berkeley and Pepperdine and UCLA and just like the most amazing colleges. So I learned how to create courses just as part of my job. And then once I understood building curriculum and how to build a curriculum, I just built a curriculum based on here's what I did, right? And so to sum it up really quickly, if anyone wanted to do this, and of course you could learn it as part of the Brilliance Method, because then eventually people said, how do you create a course? I'm like, really? You want me to do that? There's 100 people doing this, but they don't do it the way I do it. Okay, fine. Let's do it. Let's do it our way. So you can also learn course creation through my programs. But if you look at all the major milestones you've had in your life, and then you ask yourself, how did I get there? What was in the way? What did I receive? What did I create? What did I let go of? Right? Like A to Z under each milestone. What's the A to Z under each milestone? And then you go, okay, so maybe you've got 2, 3 big milestones in your life, and which one is the one that you want to focus on? So I focused a lot on the business success because that's really fun for me to talk about. And I have Venus in my second house and something also in my human design. Apparently, I'm here to help women make money as one of the things that I do to help feel better and make money. So it's in my imprint, which is why I'm so drawn to teaching and sharing about this stuff. So okay, that's the one I'm going to focus on. That's the milestone. That's what the Brilliance Method is primarily going to be about. And then I went, okay, well, now let's go A to Z. And instead of it being top to bottom, let's kind of flip it so it's left to right. And how many of those beats are there? I had about 8 or 9. So then I went, okay, what's the first beat? The first beat is listening to my intuition. How do I do that? What's the A to Z to that? So now underneath that are all the lessons. So that first A, listening to my intuition, that's module 1. All the steps underneath it are all the rest of the lessons, right? And then the second one, understanding the difference between my ego and my spirit. A very spiritual class, right? How do I do that? That's a long story, right?
That's a one.
Yeah, that's a big one. And I needed to put that in the beginning because when I start telling people at the end to take action and how to take action and how to speak and then how to get paid to speak and how to write courses and all that stuff, then if they're not listening to their intuition and their ego is not in check and they're not putting their spirit in charge and they're not making choices from a place of love, they're going to fail. So we have to start from what's in here in order to come up to our throat. If you're listening instead of watching, I'm touching my heart and then moving up to my throat and then speaking outward. So long ass answer, Rihanna, but the Brilliance Method is truly a method of how do we tap into our own brilliance and then share it with the world. So I have a coaching program. I have wonderful, amazing clients. I have a membership and I now have the podcast. So there's plenty of free coaching and learning from me and my incredible guests every week on the podcast. And then of course the membership. So
beautiful. Yeah. But I think those, when you start having an awakening, if that's something that happens later in life, like some people, it seems like they're on that path their whole life. Some of us, it happens just, there was a car accident and oh my gosh, I need to change my lifestyle. But the 2 most challenging things for me were what's my intuition and what's my ego. It was just like, am I an inspiration or am I in struggle? So, and the difference, right, for my ego, because of the way that I was raised and practiced my life, if I'm striving, then that's coming from my ego. If it's coming from fear and scarcity and striving, if I am feeling inspired, excited, and I'm loving this idea, then it's coming more from my intuition, right?
yeah.
And everybody's programming is different. So you don't know if you're raised to primarily value your feminine energy, it might be the opposite for you. It might be like procrastination and just playing is the thing that's not getting you where you need to go. And you need more masculine structure or whatever. And you need to create containers and things to do the things that you want to do. But ultimately, it feels exciting, right?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Like any fear-based decision making or thinking is from the ego because we are pure love. And um, to get to that place is like impressive. I opened my eyes because from how you grew up and what you went through, like it's just fear is the way you're supposed to think about God, right? They talk about
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah.
God fearing, being a God fearing person, which is God is love. God is only love.
Yeah.
Why would we fear God, right? So it's like it some of these religions or organizations will almost trick you into thinking, well, fear is actually not your ego. That's your loving place because you want to, you know, do the right thing and you need that human part of you to make that choice, but that's actually not true. So I'm just so
Yeah.
impressed that you found your way there. Of course you did, being a seeker and being so intuitive. So that's wild.
Yeah, it is wild. And the trick, I think, is just about disconnecting. I mean, a church is ultimately a business. Maybe originally there was this beautiful intention about bringing people together and having religion do that and creating community and unity and loving your neighbor. You've got some of those positive messages in there, and then you've got, but this is a business, and in order for us to stay in business, at early when early religion was coming about, they used disconnecting people from their divinity and making the priest the one that talks to God for you. Like, if you can talk to God, what do you need the church for? What do you need the priest for? And I think for women in particular, what they were seeing was they needed to disconnect women from their divinity and their femininity and their spiritual gifts, because they were telling the men in their lives, no, you're not going to go to war and fight for that dude to get more territory. We don't need that. But and
Yeah.
but men, get together, they've got their testosterone, they get excited about the fight and the conquering and the goal, and then they rile each other up and they get on board with it. And here you have these women being like, that's a terrible idea. Like, don't you see this side of it and how what a mess it's going to make? So they needed to silence those women.
Mm.
And the women that were most influential had property and money, and people listened to them. They were the witches, the wise women, right?
Yep. The soothsayers, the alchemists. Yeah, we were probably friends. We probably had like cool little witch shops in the same town, right? And sharing herbs with one another. I'm sure. I had Vedic astrologer Jade Luna on my show twice, and he talked about Western astrology versus Vedic astrology and how the church was responsible for Western astrology. Are you familiar with that?
I think I've heard that there's some, yeah, tell us more. Tell
It's
us
pretty interesting. Well, I definitely encourage everyone to go back and listen to the Jade Luna episodes of the Brilliance Method, but I will briefly describe it as best I can. So, Vedic astrology goes back, it's Egyptian, it's Indian, there's Greek elements to it. It's the oldest form of astrology, and Jade put together really a combination of all of it, what was used all those years ago called Asterian astrology. And this astrology was so accurate. And as you said, us women trust ourselves. Even before that, men weren't necessarily looking to one person to communicate with God. We trusted ourselves. We had, wisdom teachers and whatnot. So then when the church became the church, let's generously call it 2,000 years ago, they came up with a form of astrology called that we now refer to as Western astrology or tropical astrology. And they mapped the stars in the sky and said, this is your star chart and this doesn't change. And when Jade talks about it, he truly says it's a spiritual crime that they did that because the stars do change. In fact, when you look at Vedic astrology compared to Western astrology, it's off by, I think, about 4 degrees. And because of that, if you're on the cusp, you might be a Virgo in what you consider your astrology, but truthfully, you're a Leo,
Mm,
right? Your whole sign could be different. It could be actually very different. And you would think, oh, 4 degrees, not that big a deal, but it actually is when you're looking at really specific stuff. When I had my Vedic chart done in, I think it was 2018 or so, the astrologer at the time I was working with, I was sitting next to him in person, and he has all the different, that's called dashas. He has all the different months of the year, weeks of the year, down to the days of the year. And I asked him to explain a little bit about it to me because I understood that it was actually a true and authentic form of astrology, not something that was watered down that the church gave us so that we wouldn't question and we would still have our thing, but it would
mm,
always be just off enough to where we were never satisfied in our lives. It never,
mm.
it never takes us all the way to really understanding ourselves or feeling happy. So of course we keep going back to the church, right? So you get kind of why they did it.
Yeah.
And so he did my Vedic chart, and I'm a skeptic even if some of the stuff I talk about until I fully understand it. And I said, let's look at October 2025. What happened here? And he's looking at the dashas, and he said, cancer of the breast. This guy didn't even know my last name, like nothing about me. I showed up at his house, he pulled up my chart. I was like, that's crazy. That was when I had my surgery. And then I said, okay, let's play one more game. Go back to December 29th, 1993. Just go to that week or that month. And so he goes and he said, this is the death of the mother. And I was like, yeah, that's the look I had on my face too. I was like, this is magic. This is witchcraft. This is crazy. Oh my God, I'm in. And I said, what else could it be? Like, let's say my mother didn't die. What else could it be? My mother totally died that week.
Right,
And
right.
he said, well, he was kind of at a loss for words. He was like, it's very maternal. It's you stepping into being the mother. It could be loss of the grandmother. And I'm like, it's cool. I just wanted to know. So, but yeah, anyhow, and look, I think we can all agree, like, I love Jesus. I love Buddha. I love Moses. I love them all. Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, like, bring it on. Anyone who is sharing truth and love about forgiveness, like, it's amazing. But when people get together and they're hurting people and they're saying, look over here, don't look over here. I mean, we're seeing that so much, in our society right now. And the good news is there's teachers like you and me and Jade, and we have tools, and we have our own meditation, we have our own intuition, we have our own prayer.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really awesome when you do reconnect with your own and you start learning how to trust yourself, how much your life changes. And yeah, and how you value things differently. Like you start to actually value what you value instead of what you were told to value, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, so why did you start your podcast?
I have no idea. Honestly, I don't the other day I was like posting my 55th episode and I was like, how did I end up podcasting? Like,
Yeah, because
what
we were just
happened
talking about
here?
intuition and journey, and I'm like, what? Because someone will ask me that one day in the future. I only just started mine, right? And it doesn't make money at first. And I mean, if ever, I don't know. And I'm just doing it because I just feel guided to do it. Like I'm feeling pushed and pulled to do it, and I love it and I want to do it. And that's a good enough answer. But if you can go back, I'm just curious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was so effortless. Like it wasn't a thing that I planned or worked hard on, or like it just kind of, I was just like, I'm gonna start talking to people. And I recorded it, and here we are. And
People love it.
people reach out, and they are on here, and it's, I mean, I get to talk to the most amazing people, and it's so fun. It's like I learn so much from it, from these people like you. And it's just like, I never thought I didn't even listen to podcasts. My friend used to talk about podcasts all the time, and I would roll my eyes like, oh my God, she's talking about a podcast. I don't even know what that is.
Uh-huh. Me too, actually, before I started this journey.
So funny. Yeah, but I think I was just I was in fit for service, and surrounded by like brilliant, interesting people, and I'm not that comfortable. I don't feel like I can get to know people really well if we're in a big group. Like it's harder to have those one-on-one conversations that where you really kind of get to know somebody. And so I was like, well, I think maybe my first guest was like the person in Fit for Service that I judged the most, that I was like, I don't get this guy. I don't trust him. I don't like him. So I'm gonna interview him because I know there's something here for me. Like usually if I have a really strong reaction to someone or something or a strong opinion about it, I know that I'm missing a lot of information.
Mm.
So so I interviewed him, and he's amazing. He's brilliant. Everything's cool about him. And then it was just from there, I was just like, who wants to be, who wants to get on here and record? And people are like, okay, yeah. And so fun. It was just, and I get to know people, and it was just a way to connect with the community a little more deeply, and to learn how to relate. Um, that journey of like being in Fit for Service, it's like this group of people, and everybody thinks it's a sex cult, and we don't do anything sexual, but it was interesting to watch myself with my very fearful, avoidant, disorganized attachment style to walk into those spaces and uh, try to make connections with people. I had kind of, I'd been working from home for a number of years and didn't talk to people much. And so got into this habit of kind of staying away from people. And so I was ready to move on from that. I knew that I was missing a lot of life. And um, podcasting was one of the ways that I could actually dive in with people and start to have relationships again.
Mm, that's beautiful. I really do believe, whether you call it like God or the universe, we are rewarded when we just do what we feel motivated and inspired to do.
Yeah, if you have to push yourself to motivate yourself to do something, I mean, there's a couple things at play. It's either that you're resisting it because it is the thing that you should be doing and you're scared and you want to stay small, or it's not the thing for you. Like, and that's where coming into the difference, understanding the difference of intuition, inspiration versus ego is really important, right?
Hmm. Yeah, big time. When people ask me about the ego, and it depends who's asking, right? But when people ask me like, well, what is the ego? Because I don't ever want anyone to feel like it's all bad, because it is truly here to keep us safe.
Yeah.
May I give a brief explanation of how I tell other people what it is?
Yes.
So our ego is really just here to keep us alive. That's really it. And I believe our soul is eternal. We do not need a body. Our soul does not need a body. Our ego cannot survive without a body. The ego is not eternal. So when the ego feels threatened, it reacts because its entire existence is at stake. Where when a soul feels excited, I don't think a soul ever feels threatened, right? But if a soul is in alignment with joy, and maybe it's a scary feeling in the body or the ego, let's say we're about to go on a roller coaster, we're going on an overseas flight or something that might make us, or at least me, a little bit nervous, right? The soul is like, yes, we're growing, we're growing. Okay, if we die, it's fine. We'll come right back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually, hopefully not, but we'll come right back, right? Where the
Yeah.
ego is like, hey, wait a second. Did you check all the things? Did you get your, this or that? Is it all in place? Are you okay? Are we okay? So, when we're, as you said earlier, ego is fear and soul or spirit is love. Truly, when we're making choices from fear, we're listening to our ego. When we're making a choice from love, we're listening to our spirit. So I always tell my clients, who are you putting in charge?
Mhm.
Let's give our ego a name, right? What's that like gross, nasty person in your life or your childhood? Or just make up a name that like you would never even name like an animal, you know? What would it be, Rihanna? What would you name your ego?
Mm, well, I do a lot of parts work. So internal family systems. So I'm like, I don't reject any part. I think of it as a frightened little child. And so I would try to come at it with a compassionate lens. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, she would be, it could be a boy too,
Could be a
depends how many
boy.
parts you've got.
Yeah. So what's
But
a name of a scared child? Of a child you want to
yeah,
give compassion to?
what's coming to me right now is lose. I don't know
Luz.
why, like
Okay.
Luz.
Luz. Okay. So like that's that inner child, right? That's that screaming out for attention and wanting to feel safe and wanting to be loved and knowing that there is love and we're not separate from love. I've heard you talk about in other episodes, we're not separate from God, and I absolutely agree. I believe that. And when our ego's acting out, we forget that we're not separate from love.
Yeah.
Right? So Luz just needs to be loved and needs to take a nap so we could put Rihanna in charge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like
Nap
that
time.
spin. Thank you. Yeah, it doesn't have to be this nasty voice. It could just be a sweet child, but I think it's good to identify it and have love and compassion and go, yeah, I'm not making a choice from today. I don't need to choose to be 4-year-old me, but sometimes we need to be kind to our inner child when we're being really hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean allowing that child to continue to drive the bus, though. And I've
Uh-huh.
found myself in that spot,
Yeah,
being like so indulgent that it's like, okay, we're going to do what you want today. And it's like, maybe we're going to do what you want for 5, 10 minutes. And then we're going to let you go play, take a nap, and we're going to get back onto what we want to do from a not scared place, adult place.
that's good parenting right there.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it.
So much we need, I mean, children always kind of perceive that they aren't parented correctly, like that they don't feel. I don't think the best parent in the world could ever fully satisfy their child. Like
Hmm.
children are always going to feel like it's not enough love, not enough attention. Like they kind of want to be the center of the universe.
Hmm.
It's part of us. We all have that in us. And so to be recognize it and say, it's okay. I'm not going to say that that's wrong or bad or reject that. I'm going to accept it. And we're going to give you some time to do your thing. And then we're going to, expand and grow and thrive. Because, like you said, the ego is here to just stay alive, right? Just to survive.
Hmm.
Um, and surviving's cool, but we want to thrive.
Hmm. Yes. Yeah. And if we think we're separate from God, then we're acting out over and over and over again, right? And I joke with my clients, especially if we're talking about like A Course in Miracles or something, a non-dualistic teaching. Like we've just got daddy issues. We think we're separate from our father, and
Mhm.
we're not. And we're born in this body being told that we're separate from that. And that feels terrible. So I understand why we freak out the way we freak out. We just want to be loved. We just want attention. Like we're just always crying out for love. Always.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is happening in our romantic relationships. It's happening in our relationships with our kids, coworkers, you know, if we're entrepreneurs, our business relationships, if
Hmm.
we don't get present with it and do that compassionate reparenting and like notice, I mean, even just awareness to be like, okay, that thought is a thing, but I am not that thought. I am not that thing.
Hmm.
It's if we don't do that, then we don't get to grab the reins and thrive.
So how does someone remember I'm not that thing when they're in it and they're feeling all that muck?
Ooh, it can be so challenging, and can be so sneaky, because like it becomes like this layered spiral kind of thing where you start noticing. I mean, meditation is one of the main practices. Like you sit there, a lot of people think I have to empty my mind, I have to empty my mind, and then they don't do it because they feel like a failure, because we can't empty our mind.
Mm-mm.
But instead it's just to watch the thoughts and to sit there and take the time and feel into your body, be present in your body, like breathe deeply, expand your lungs, like feel grounded and resourced in your body, and notice that you're totally safe and everything's all right now. And then when you get to that relaxed, grounded place, to just let the thoughts happen and let them pass by, and don't need to get into an argument with them, but just be like, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. And then I think when you say, I hear you, you realize that you're not that. Like,
Mm,
I'm over here and the thought is just happening. It's moving on.
I
It's
hear
being
you.
heard.
I hear you. That's good. You know, this morning when I found the little squirrel, I was so hard on myself, Rihanna. Like, I was saying things to myself I would never say to somebody else.
Mm.
I was, and my brother-in-law was here and he gave me a hug and he goes, a lot of wonderful people pay you to help them feel better. What would you say to yourself right now? You know, because I kept saying, it's my fault. I should have put the tarp back on. It's my fault. I should have put the tarp back on. And I always have to say to myself, stay coachable, Elysia.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I was like, well, I would say you did make a mistake, but you don't have to keep punishing yourself for it. And you'll probably never make this mistake again. And don't let that discount all the love and attention and good health and well-being you provided this family of squirrels and other families. And you know, just sit with it and feel it, and don't torture yourself. And it was so hard for me to say those things out loud because I just wanted to like self-flagellate and just be like, no, you effed up. Like
Yeah.
somebody died, you know?
Being in it, being really in it. Yeah.
Yeah, so in it. We have to give ourselves that grace, and I wasn't ready to do it this morning, you know? And I think that's part of it too, right? Like there's time. Like yes, time is an illusion, time is not linear, all of that stuff, but we've named it time. And we don't just go from, oh my God, this happened on my watch, on my home. It was my responsibility to, okay, well, what's the lesson here? And now I'll know better in the future. Like, there's a word for that.
Well, it's also just, I mean, we're all a work in progress. We're all learning. There are a number of distractions, and when we think that we could control every little input that was happening, like there were infinite possibilities of what could have happened this morning. The squirrel could have not fallen in the pool. The squirrel could have not, what is it? What is it? When you freeze up
Mm, like,
in Tahoe, they talk about it when you get in the lake and your muscles contract and you can't swim.
oh yeah,
Hypothermia.
hypothermia.
Anyway,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but like that could have not happened and it could have got out, or
Mm-hmm.
it did happen and the tarp could have been on right and it still could have happened somehow. And
Potentially.
you know, we get into our story about this is my fault, I did wrong, but like if we can remember that we can't see everything because we are in this body and we have some limited things because of that, and we're learning and we're growing, and there could have been a thing, a reason that that squirrel's time was here and it was up, and it wasn't really about you and what you did. But sure, you can be more diligent about the tarp going forward, and yeah, like you said, you don't need to keep punishing yourself for it. And here's the problem that I think a lot of people get into is they will punish themselves so severely and believe that story so completely that they would, like in your case, just get rid of the whole menagerie. Like, stop feeding the animals. I'm not good at this. I'm terrible. How dare I think that I'm qualified to feed animals and, whatever it is. And they do it in their business, they do it in their marriage, they do it in their, parenting, give up their kids because they feel like they're not good enough and they don't know what they're doing. And
it's a shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
I definitely had a moment where I had those thoughts. I was like, I'm not a responsible pool owner. Should I fill in the pool? Right. And I was like, Elysia, you don't have to do that. Right. And
Right.
I cut up some apples and some celery and some almonds, and I brought them outside and I put them in areas like away from the pool in case they were scared of the pool today. I don't know if they saw her fall in. And because of course I'm projecting of like all the stories that could have possibly happened and that I've traumatized the whole garden. And within a few minutes, there's like 10 squirrels running around eating almonds and crackers and celery and apples. And like, why would I stop feeding them? Why would I do like what you just said, right? Like, they're happy.
Yeah.
They're happy. So
And you worked hard for that pool.
I
You
did.
deserve that pool. I'm
I
sure
did.
you're enjoying it in the summer.
I love
And
it.
it's, yeah.
I do. Yeah. And I think things like this happen and we remember even more to be grateful, not just responsible, but even more to what are we thankful for and to remember, yeah, I did work hard for that pool and there were other circumstances that helped me to get that pool and I'm so thankful. So just a strange day and here we are and
Yeah.
apparently thousands of people need to hear this today, which I'm good with.
Yeah.
I'm so
I
happy
love
to
it.
share it here with you and everyone who's our friend today listening and watching.
Yeah, I think having real stories where, that people can relate to is so important because sometimes we are sharing only the best parts of ourselves when we're, you know,
Uh-huh.
and it's like, no, I have challenges still, and
Absolutely. Mhm.
but you've demonstrated that you have a whole tool chest of working through it so that you don't like ruin something that you have because you're self-flagellating. Like, that is something I have done to myself so many times and probably will continue to do. You know,
Mhm.
it happens here and there.
Yeah. Yeah, I did it a lot today. So we will, but the idea is that it gets less and less, right? We abuse ourselves
Yeah.
less and less. We're kinder to ourselves more and more. And you're absolutely right about the honest conversations. And my clients have always been so grateful to me that I'm really transparent. I just talk about what's happening because it looks like a lot of glitter and sunshine and rainbows and unicorns coming out of your butt when you're looking at teachers and coaches and healers and speakers. And we've got stuff none of us got here without all this stuff. Otherwise, it would kind of be boring, but also um, there's have you read Neil Donald Walsh's Conversations with God?
I don't think so. Mm-mm.
That's a good book. And in Conversations with God, he's having conversations with who he calls God. It could be ascended masters or his angels, or it could be God, but he uses two different voices to represent a male and a female energy. And he talks about that part of the reason why we're having this experience, and this is not completely in alignment with A Course in Miracles, which I referenced earlier, but it's okay. I like them both. By having this human experience and going through these bouts of fear and choosing love over fear when we do, and choosing fear over love sometimes as we do, we get to know ourselves. Because if a soul is perfect love and it's at home in the superconscious world, in heaven, and wherever it is, at home with God, and all it is love, and love is the only thing that's perfect, so it knows nothing else other than perfect love, how will it know itself?
Mm.
But to experience this dream or this nightmare, depending on the day, of the opposite of that, right?
Yeah.
And I talked about this on one of my podcast episodes. And I equated it to the movie Aladdin because I do love Disney. And when Jasmine grows up in the castle, she knows nothing else. And her father is like, Jasmine, why do you want to leave? Why do you want to go be with like poor people? Like, just stay here. It's amazing. And she's like, no, I need to like see the world and know who I am and make mistakes and all that stuff. I'm like, wow, that movie is such a good metaphor for our spiritual journey, right? Like, we're at home in
So
heaven in perfect
true.
love, and we're like, no, I want to try something else, right? And then she has the best of both worlds. She found true love in quote unquote, a street rat kind of dude, and then brought him back to the palace eventually. So here we are. And I want that balance for myself until I return home to love. But man,
Yeah, and integrating all the different experiences and parts of ourselves and like making a beautiful life out of it is something that's really, I know, it's kind of the whole point of the experience, right?
yeah, it's wonderful. There's more is working than is not working. And people tend
Yes.
to forget that. And they focus on all the things that went wrong today and all the things that went wrong this month or this year. And granted, I mean, you're in Southern California. It's been a rough start to the year, for most people. And that doesn't mean that's what it always looks like or feels like. And I also want to say if everyone else is having a bad time and you're having a good time, please talk about it. Please own it. Please shift the perspective. And, 2020 was hard for a lot of people. My husband and I loved almost every second of it. And,
Yeah.
right. And at first was like, can we even tell anyone that we're like really enjoying the pandemic? And I say that with grace because obviously I
Right.
knew people who passed away. There was a lot of horrible stuff that happened. But it was the first time like we slowed down and I got to create the Brilliance Method because I finally had a pause in doing production, and then I was busier than ever eventually doing video production remotely because no one else knew how to do it and I had already been doing it. So I made a lot of money. I launched my business. Like, I spent more time with my husband than ever. We moved to Nashville in the middle of the pandemic, and it was just like a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's okay. I think that's okay.
I think it's really wonderful to not dim your light when there's darkness around, and I don't know where we got the message that that's what we're supposed to do, that that's the right thing to do, but like to bring our energy down to be sad with everybody actually doesn't help people get through their sadness. Like, it's okay to be there with somebody and be there for them, but you don't have to get sucked into the sadness and lower your vibration and pretend like everything's bad for you. That's not helpful.
Mm-mm. No, and I have two thoughts on that. To add to that, when we're very empathic people, meaning we feel what other people feel, that's a slippery slope to get down into that darkness with someone. So if you're
Yeah.
empathic, I encourage you to do your best to shift from empathy into compassion. Instead of I feel with you, how about I feel for you? And we can
Yeah.
get through this together because you do not need to sacrifice your personal energy, nor will it serve that person if you truly are feeling what they're feeling. A great healer, coach, teacher doesn't need to feel what someone's feeling in order to help them, in order to shine that light. And speaking of light, an analogy I love using is be the lighthouse, not the lifesaver. A lot of people say be the lighthouse, but I added don't be the lifesaver, because when you're a lighthouse, you're standing tall and strong on the beach. You're a beacon of light. You're shining the way. Like, you're not going to run out into the ocean to save someone. Like, you just have to stand your ground and shine your light, and they will find their way. You are not getting down to their level. A lifesaver literally gets tossed into the cold, freezing ocean at night, probably with sharks. And when it finds the person, they're like holding it down under the water. So it's like, is that who you want to be? I was a lifesaver for so much of my life, which I think attributes a lot to why I got cancer when I went on that journey to find out why.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to what you said, if we can be the lighthouse, not the lifesaver, we will actually help more people.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I think we should end on that note. I love what you said about switching from empathy to compassion, because like you said, like I did the same. I was just an empath. I'd walk into the room, but my tendency was there would be tension and unpleasantness, and I would be like, nope, we're gonna shift this to positivity. And it was always, it worked and it was appreciated, but it was like, also I was kind of taking people's power away. It's okay to let people feel their stuff and decide for themselves when to pull up. So I love the lighthouse metaphor. Yeah.
Thank you.
So how do people find you and work with you?
Oh, thank you. ElysiaSkye.com, ELYSIASKYE.com, just like my name. All my social handles, including LinkedIn, Instagram, it's all at Elysia Skye. And for the Brilliance Method, you just go to ElysiaSkye.com/podcast. And if you're interested in working with me as a coach or having me come and speak, just contact me through the form on my website. I would be happy to chat with you.
Okay, amazing. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Rihanna. What a joy, and really healing today for me as well. Thank you.
Oh, yes, me too. Thank you so much. All right. We'll talk soon. I think I'm going to come on your podcast.
Right? That's right. That's right. I'll see you over there.
All right. Sounds good. Bye.
Okay. Bye, love.